What's going on, YouTube world and YouTube tribe? That's ponder the question of what if? I'm a damn chair. Yes, let's ponder the question of what if. What if Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me. As always, I like to give a synopsis before we get into the story. A grief-stricken Doctor Strange used the eye of Agamotto in a dangerous effort to change the past. This episode of What If was actually strange. No pun intended, but yeah, it was quite strange because this is like a deviation from the other what ifs. This what ifs is like the entire universe affecting stuff. But let's get into it. So we open up. This takes place during the first Doctor Strange movie, in which we meet Doctor Strange and Christine Palmer. And yes, the name of the episode is What If Doctor Strange Lost His Heart Instead of His Hands. And they don't mean literally his heart. They mean his heart as in Christine Palmer. So Doctor Strange and Christine are on the way to this award ceremony. I think it's for Doctor Strange performing this miraculous surgery. It didn't just like in the first movie, but like I said, in this universe, Christine was with him on that fateful night that he would get into his car accident. But as they drive, she's telling him about the Price is Right being a contestant, and that he should run up to the podium like he's a contestant on the Price is Right. He was like, "The Price is what?" He never seen a show like that before. So he stuck behind this slow moving truck. Like, you know how we do sometimes when you're on the highway, on the street. You got a big semi truck that's slow moving, so you get over and try to zoom past them. But in this instance, with him trying to get over and go past, is he's not getting over into the appropriate lane, like the next lane that's still going in this direction to go past. He's getting into the oncoming lane, so the traffic's coming back this way, and he almost crashes to a car. He was able to swerve back over, get control of the car. Everything's cool. All of a sudden, a car behind him smashes into them, causing them to go off the road, and Christine Palmer dies. He then, just like in the movie, he seeks answers from Isso, just like how they did in the actual Doctor Strange movie. He seeks answers, which leads him to the Ancient One and Agamotto. We don't the only people, the actual Doctor Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch. I think that's how you say his last name. He returns as the voice of Doctor Strange. Also, Wong, the dude who plays Wong, and the woman who plays the Ancient One in the actual Doctor Strange movie also returns to voice their characters. Yeah, so he meets them, becomes Doctor Strange, Sorcerer Supreme. But then he's because it was his heart. 2 years later, after becoming Doctor Strange and saving the world from Dormammu, he is now still grieving on the loss of Christine Palmer, wondering every day should he use the Eye of Agamotto to go into the past to try to change what happened to her. Wong going to try to come and console him, and he said, "Oh yeah, you broke out the good stuff this time." He's drinking some expensive liquor. I think it was whiskey. And then he goes, Wong said, "I'm gonna go put out a cup of tea. I suggest you join me before you do something stupid." And at this point, he has a choice to make: let it go and go join Wong for a cup of tea, or use the eye of Agamotto or the Time Stone, and yeah, go into the past to try to save Christine Palmer, and that's exactly what he does. He goes into the past, and he goes back to that moment when she's walking up to him in the car, and he realized, they driving, they talking about it, they rehabbing that whole conversation. This is like I think this is like his first time. When he first see her, and she was like, "What's wrong?" He said, "I think I had a small cardiac arrest." Because this is his first time seeing her since her death again. So he almost had a heart attack. But they continue just like they did. But then he realized, oh yeah, this is how I messed up. So he changed what he did, to make sure he didn't get into the accident. This time he didn't get over, he didn't lose sight of everything. So, he was like, they just continued to talk about it. And next thing you know, the car still comes up, smashes into him, and kills Christine again. So again, Aya Okamoto, he goes back. This time they try to take a different route. Still in this, I think they, instead of going on the highway, they was driving in the city. This time she gets hit by a car in the city. The car on the city streets smashes to him. So then it's just a montage of different things he tries to do. Like one time they didn't even go to the award show. They just went to go have pizza and at a pizzeria, and they was enjoying it until somebody came and robbed the pizzeria and killed her. And then it was actually one scene when they did get to the award place, to the award ball and ceremony, and they're dancing. They're dancing, they're having a good time. He's okay. Finally, he got there without her dying, but then she has a cardiac arrest and still dies. It looked like she had a heart attack. So it's like everything he does, I think he does this until, I think the story said, at a certain point, it tells us that he's done this like at least, I want to say it said he'd done it like at least over 1 million times. And it's either 1,000 or 1 million times he's repeated this same cycle to the point where he's like, he starts shouting to the heavens, screaming. They did also show how the Ancient One dies. I forgot about that, but leading up to him making this choice to go back into the past, when they were showing like the stuff that happened in the Doctor Strange movie, it showed that how the movie ended with, how the movie went with, the Ancient One dying and all that type of stuff. But, so he's shouting to the heavens, he's screaming, he's wondering, why can I save her? What is the problem? How come everything I do, she dies? No matter what I do, no matter how I change things, she still dies. And then this is where the Ancient One comes in. The Ancient One comes through a portal to Doctor Strange. I think it was at this point she died again during the car crash, like the car crash off the bridge into the river and stuff. And he went back to that point. God, then he let her drive, and she was like, "Is something wrong, Strange? Do you want something?" He was like, "No, I just want you." And the car hits them. They goes into the ravine. That's when he gets out and starts screaming to the heavens. And so the Ancient One, he's like, "What are you doing here?" And she came to explain to him that he's basically torturing himself, and that he should let go of the past and move on. He was like, "But you don't even know her. She's the love of my life. Like, what type of person would I be if I didn't try to save her?" And she proceeds to explain to him why things are happening the way it's happening. She explains to Doctor Strange that her death in this universe, her death is an absolute point. An absolute point it's like the Marvels. I want to say it's the Marvels equivalent of oh man, I had it all in my head earlier. It's the Marvel equivalent of what they call for the like in DC's where um dang, what I was about to say. Oh, you know how in the Flash TV show they say that you know how Barry go back and change his his mother's death. It causes a flashpoint because it changes. It causes the whole fabric of reality to be different just because she lived. And it's basically like that, except for Marvel is more the consequence of just changing everybody's lives is worse. For Marvel is worse. An absolute point is actually worse than what DC. DC just says, you know, hey, you change if you can change this, but if you do, it causes a flashpoint, and not everybody's lives is different because you change this. And I can't. It's not coming to me what they called it in DC, but you know what I mean. You know, they changed this point in time that shouldn't be changed, that shouldn't be messed with because of the consequences. For Marvel, is way different. An absolute point is still somewhat similar to that, but unlike just going back to the past and just changing it, for Marvel. They, you know, you found out later on the episode, because you know it's Doctor Strange. He's going to find a way around it because the Ancient One tells him there's no way to change an absolute point. An absolute point has to occur because it will cause a paradox. Without her death, Doctor Strange wouldn't go and become Doctor Strange. You know, become Sorcerer Supreme. He wouldn't go and search out the Ancient One to be where he at right now. And Doctor Strange said, "Oh, well, it will cause a time paradox." And see, like basically, without her death, you don't come to look for us to get to this point again. So it's like you're at this point because she died. But if she doesn't die, you never get to this point. So. You know, she's telling him there's a dangerous consequence to that if you interfere with you interfere with reality in that way. I also like to point out this is the first episode of the What Ifs. Just before I get back to the story, this is also the first episode to actually have the watcher actually interact with one of the main character of a What If story, because you know how he always says at the beginning he just watch and observes but never interferes. Just because Doctor Strange's power, he had no choice but to get involved, not interfering, but he had no choice but to actually communicate with this person. Yeah, so Doctor Strange believes that absolute point can't be changed, and she warns him that if he goes searching down his path, it'll be destruction, and it'll be destruction for everything he knows and loves, and that he should come back with her and just forget about it. But he refused not to, and she said, "Don't make me have to stop you." He said, "You will have to catch me first." And he's about to use the Eye of Agamotto to try to go back into the time because he realized where he has to go to. So the Ancient One shoots him with this beam, explosion happens, and he ends up where he was trying to get to anyway. He got this burn mark on him, not an actual burn mark, like his smeared black mark on his suit, but otherwise he's okay. You know, he's not hurt or anything. So he sees this guy. This guy, he asks this guy, like, do you know the location of the Callisto? I forgot the name. I had that name in my head too, but it's like a sorcerer who basically knew how to break an absolute point. And then he just starts walking. He sees this temple, and he goes into the temple. It's like a little trap on the floor. He disables it, but then he activates a whole bunch of them and falls through the floor to meet the guy again. And the guy, this time the guy actually talks to him, and so he got to be the weirdly dressed sorcerer he ever met. And he said, yeah, it's Armani. He said, well, sorcerer Armani. He said, follow me. I am Obek. He's basically like the caretaker for the library of Calistio. He tells him to basically follow him, and they go to the library. And he said, here, this library, you will find what you're looking for. And he basically uses his powers. He grabs all the books and eventually figure out how to break an absolute point. So it's at this point that he finds out that the absolute point can be broken like he thought it could, but it takes an immense power. That's the difference between like changing the absolute, like the Marvel's version of a point in time that you shouldn't change versus DC's, where DC you can go back into the past and change it and just have major ramifications on the future. And then if you try to reverse it, here if he finds you can't just go back and change it. You have to have immense power, and the only way to get that immense power is by absorbing other stronger beings' essence and powers into yourself. So, in doing so, he begins to taint himself. He learns from starting small and working his way up to like bigger creatures, and he begins to taint himself. That's when you see him get the evil version looking of his little cloak that he puts around himself. And at this point, he becomes supreme. He becomes Supreme Strange, and he's no longer Doctor Strange. He becomes Supreme Strange, and we learn that there's actually two Doctor Strange within this same universe. The Watcher takes us back to that moment where the Ancient One blasts him, and we see that blast did do something that we didn't think and we didn't see happen. The Ancient One split him into two people, and split him into this person who eventually did go into the past and to find these books and learn how to break an absolute point, while it split him to a different version of himself. The same one back from the beginning where Juan tells him he's about to go put on the tea and that he should come here before he do something stupid. This other version of him that exists in the same universe actually makes the decision to put down the Eye of Agamotto and he gonna have some tea. He decides to let go of the past. But in doing so, he sees the fabric of reality breaking, and the Ancient One comes to him and tells him what she did. She reveals to him what we just saw, that she split him into two. He's a version of himself that actually chose not to use the Eye of Agamotto and forget and let go of the past, while another version of him is the reason why the fabric of reality is dissipating, because the fabric of reality is waiting to see which version of him is going to reign supreme and actually, twist itself. Since the other version, Supreme Strange, is getting ready to undo the fabric of reality, undo everything to try to save Christine Palmer. The fabric of reality is dissipating because he's destroying it, and we're starting to see the consequence of what happens. And this is just, he haven't even broke the absolute point yet. This is just what happens when you get raid to. When reality senses that you're getting strong enough to actually change this absolute point. And so Doctor Strange is warned by the Ancient One that the person who's doing this, the person who's destroying reality, is himself, or the other version of himself, and that she feels that the only person who can stop him is him. So Doctor Strange it becomes the Doctor Strange that we know and seen from the movies to go confront himself, and he see that his self is so twisted and so evil that he's not even recognizable anymore. He was like this different formation of beast, and then he reformed himself. His voice is even demonic and evil, and he tells him that he's almost ready. He tells Doctor Strange that he's almost ready to save Christine, to break the absolute point. He just need one thing. By this time in the confrontation, Supreme Strange, the evil Strange, he realized what we just found out, that the reason why he's not strong enough because the Ancient One split him into two people. It's presumed that during his time of absorbing and gaining all his power, he finally figured out what she did to him, and that she split him in two. So he tells the other him that they need to become one, so he could finally be at full power to break the absolute point. And he's trying to convince Good Strange, or the Sorcerer Supreme Strange, is trying to tell Supreme Strange that what he's doing is tearing the fabric of reality apart, and that he got to let go. And he says, no, I'm not going to let go. And he said, and you're going to become part of me. And they begin to fight. I forgot, before he went and fought him too, he put like this spell on him that stops him from being absorbed. So they fight and they fight, and throughout the fight he's trying to convince Strange to give up his pursuit, but he doesn't. And the fight ends up with one of them, because I'm not going to spoil it. It ends up with one of them winning, and one of them winning, it ends up talking to the Watcher for a specific reason, and then we see the consequence of the person who wins. So, in all, if I were to give this episode anything, I would give it I give it a 9.5. If only because the only reason why I didn't give it an absolute 10 is just because I felt like this episode, out of any episode, could have benefited from being longer. And you can go with me here. I get that these are only supposed to be like 30-minute episodes, but I wish it could have been longer to flesh out some of the ways that he tried to save her. I get it. This is not supposed to be a full retelling of Doctor Strange, but I just felt like it could have benefited for just being a little bit longer. But other than that, it was good to see that the Watcher actually get to interact with one of the people from these alternate timelines and see what happens when somebody changes the whole fabric. One thing could change the whole fabric of reality because in this reality, he, instead of losing his hands, he lost his heart when messed up with messed with everything in reality. So, yeah, that's it. That's all I got. If you enjoyed this video, then hit that button right there in the upper right corner for all of my reviews. And if you enjoyed the video so much you want to support the channel, then hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification button so you get notified when I drop videos like these. And as always, hit any one of these videos for more of my amazing content. I'm out, but I'll probably be back either tomorrow or Sunday with some gameplay, with some more War for Wakanda, and maybe some more Combat Online gameplay. Who knows? We'll see.